Welcome back to the channel. We've got our 5 best bets for November 22nd here on Friday. We have got some early basketball, so again, that's why this video is out at 8 a.m. Hopefully we get some better luck on some early basketball today, because yesterday, those games in South Carolina, man, the Myrtle Beach Classic and the Charleston Cup, whatever you want to call it, Oklahoma State FAU was an abysmal performance by Oklahoma State, and it was a game that was completely taken over by the referees. I kid you not, Florida Atlantic had 48 total free throws in that basketball game. Combined, I think it was like 75 free throws attempted. Insane stuff. That game screwed us, and then Ohio, I mean, it's just a choke job of the century against the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders. You want a bonus pick? Give me Ohio today. I'm not going to actually put it in the video, but if you want a quick bonus pick, I guess I'd take Ohio minus 5.5. I think the line is. All right, is it? I swear I just saw it. Ohio's like a minus 5.5 point favorite. I would take it. I do think they go beat a lowly Portland team, but that's not an official pick of this video. I'm just giving that to you right now. But we will start again with that South Carolina, tournaments in both Myrtle Beach and in Charleston. Actually, this one's, I think we're just doing the Charleston Cup in today's video. But regardless, we'll get to that in a minute. And folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball 5 best bets here on the channel. Also, go make sure to check out our NBA predictions that will be coming up on the channel in about a couple hours. This video again is going out at 8 a.m. This one will be out at about 10 a.m. So go make sure to check that video out, as well as our NFL predictions. That is linked in the the description down below. Same with the college football predictions and the UFC Macau China predictions. This card is tonight. It's tonight or Saturday at 3 a.m. in the morning if you're on the East Coast, but midnight here on the West Coast. Piotr Jan, Deiveson Figueiredo for a top 5 ranking and potentially a title shot in the UFC's bantamweight division. Let's get on now to our 5 best bets for college basketball here today, and we start things off with that Charleston Invitational. And yes, we're going back to another Florida Atlantic basketball game. So I'm 0-2 picking FAU games this season. I'm not going to run from it. I have picked the last 2 FAU games wrong, and here we are to pick Florida Atlantic today, okay? If Florida Atlantic doesn't beat Drake today and they don't beat them by more than 5 points, they are officially cursed. They're not banned, they're just cursed in my books, all right? They should beat the crap out of Drake in this basketball game, okay? So if you missed, again, what Drake did in the Charleston tournament yesterday, they beat Miami. Huge upset victory. We might be getting to Miami in just a few moments here, but a huge victory for Drake. They were like 10.5 point dogs in that one. They win the game outright by 11 points. Miami just played an absolutely horrible basketball game, I'm not gonna lie. But Drake wins. They remain undefeated. They got a huge game in that one out of Bennett Sturts. Probably butchered that. Also, Daniel Abreu had 18 points in that game for Drake as well. It was just, I don't know, Drake got the momentum early in that game. They just kind of kept riding with it as the game continued. They went into half up 9 and really never gave up that lead. The Bulldogs again ended up winning the basketball game against Miami. But they get Florida Atlantic in this game. And again, we talked about it yesterday, but we'll talk about it again. FAU plays a high-paced style of game. Now, they weren't able to do that in the Oklahoma State game because literally, and let's be honest, the officiating definitely felt like it was on the side of the Florida Atlantic Owls. I'm just saying, it felt like every single call in that second half went the way of FAU. I mean, Oklahoma State was not able to play defense. They lost 3 starters in that second half. It was absolutely atrocious. Now, if we get that same officiating crew tomorrow, maybe they pick FAU. But the way FAU plays, yes, they do attack the paint, they do drive, and again, it's a high-tempo offense. They will kick if they need to, but again, they're trying to engage, and they're trying to get down low, and they're trying to finish at the rack. Now, I don't think they're going to get that many free throws like they did in the OK State game. I think there's going to be an emphasis probably not to call as many fouls, at least with the officiating crews in Charleston for Florida Atlantic. Regardless, though, the matchup favors FAU a lot. Drake's won 4 games this season, but they beat York College of Nebraska, Stephen F. Austin, FGCU, which is Florida Gulf Coast, by 2 points, and they beat Miami. They have guys who can score, but most of their games, it's been, all right, one guy goes crazy, and the rest of the team just has a mediocre game. So the last 2 games has been Bennett Sturts, who has put up, 21 and 25 in those last 2 games against Miami and against Florida Gulf Coast. The other game, I think it was the SF Austin game. Mitch Mascari had 26 points in that one, and it's not like he didn't play after. He played the Florida Gulf Coast game, and he put up 0 points in 26 minutes. He put up 15, though, yesterday against Miami, but again, he was the leading scorer against Stephen F. Austin. And then Daniel Abreu, the senior out of Springfield, Missouri, was the leading scorer in their game over York. and he scored 30 points. But in the Stephen F. Austin game, he put up 6 points. So inconsistency out of this Drake team. It's weird. And that's why ultimately I think Florida Atlantic wins the basketball game. Again, I picked Oklahoma State to beat them yesterday because, again, I thought Oklahoma State was going to be able to keep up in terms of the scoring. Now, if 3 of their starters don't foul out and Oklahoma State doesn't go completely cold in the last 4 minutes of that game because their starters go out, maybe the Cowboys do win that game. Maybe they do. But it's fine. We are now going to take advantage of that, and we're going to take an FAU team that's riding high. Back-to-back victories over Liberty and OK State. We are going to take this Florida Atlantic team to go out there and win. They shot 49 free throws, and in the second half, they barely missed a free throw. But in the first half, they missed, I swear, like half of their free throws. They shot horribly from beyond the arc as well. I think that was an abysmal FAU performance, and sure, I think they got bailed in that game by the officiating, but it's fine. We're now picking the next game. We're on to the next. We forgot about that OK State FAU game, right? The best opportunity for us is to pick Florida Atlantic in this basketball game. It is. A quick bonus pick, FAU moneyline parlayed with Ohio moneyline can get you to about -105. I don't mind that personally. I might play that over FAU -4.5. I'll probably play something on that as well, just because, again, Florida Atlantic should just be able to outscore and out-tempo this Drake team. But again, I just don't think FAU is going to have that bad of a game like they had yesterday against OK State. And what happened? They still beat Oklahoma State. So give me Florida Atlantic to win this basketball game. Again, definitely expect a decrease in free throws attempted, but I do still think they win this basketball game. Give me the Owls to win, and they will cover the 4.5 points as well. As we stick in Charleston, here they are, Oklahoma State and Miami. So the 2 losers from the Drake and Florida Atlantic games are Miami and OK State. Kind of weird, too. Drake beats Miami and Florida beats, Oklahoma State. Florida Atlantic beats Oklahoma State. Just, 2 Power 5s lose to these schools. Again, I get it. College basketball is not like college football, obviously. But still, Miami and OK State. We like the underdog pick here out of Oklahoma State. I don't think they played that bad of a game against Florida Atlantic. I'll be honest with you. I think they got screwed in that game. And again, I'm picking Florida Atlantic to go out there and beat Drake because, sure, they did get a lot of calls in that game, but they also shot horribly. They got bailed, don't get me wrong, but they got bailed in the game where they played like crap. I don't expect Florida Atlantic to play like crap again. Oklahoma State, I don't think played that bad of a basketball game. I think they would have won that game if it wasn't for the poor officiating in that one. Again, the foul calls were just, it was just, I haven't seen anything like it before. I wanted to turn off the game. It was ridiculous. The game was taken over by the referees in that one. I mean, seriously, Oklahoma State shot 32 free throws. They went 22 for 32. Florida Atlantic shot 49 free throws. They went 35 for 49. It's unbelievable. Seriously, it's unbelievable. It shouldn't be a thing. Again, Oklahoma State did not play that bad of a game. Everything involved, they did not play that bad of a game. They fell apart at the end of the game in the last 4 minutes because, again, 3 of their starters went out. Bryce Thompson went out. Avery, who's one of their top guys off the bench, plays big minutes, couldn't play the end of the game. And who else was it? It was Usman wasn't able to play the end of the game as well. So they were without bigs at the end of the basketball game. If you look at the final, last couple minutes of that basketball game for OK State, they've got 3 guards and 2, small forwards in the game because they had no more bigs because they all fouled out. I think OK State's going to be fine in this game. Guys, Miami was so disappointing in that last game against Drake, and that's why I'm going to take the Cowboys to win the basketball game. Again, Miami, they're non-conference, prior to this tournament. Farley Dickinson, Biddingham, and Copen State, who cares? Now you get them against, actual teams, and they lose their first real test. Nigel Pack's their leading scorer, obviously. You're gonna get production out of both Jalen Blackman and Matthew Cleveland and Lynn Kidd. But I do think OK State's the better team coming into this one. After watching both of these teams play yesterday, I feel better about taking Oklahoma State. Again, I feel like Oklahoma State can kind of capture that momentum similarly to how Drake did against Miami early in the basketball game and just ride that out until the game, of course, gets, until, again, Oklahoma State wins. That's kind of how I feel like this game's going to work. Again, this is the second half of the back-to-back, obviously, in the Charleston tournament. So you get a bet Drake, Florida Atlantic first at 8:30. I'll probably be sleeping, I'll be honest. I'll try to get up for Miami and Oklahoma State. And yes, you're seeing this video at 8, but I'm recording this at good old 2:58 in the morning here. Regardless, give me Oklahoma State to win the game. I really like them at plus money here. If you want to do the money line, take it. But also you get 5.5 for Oklahoma State. I like both. Give me the Cowboys to go in there, cover, and win in Charleston against Miami. Next up, we now go on to a big matchup here, which I believe Iowa... Are they playing a neutral site? Yes, they are. Iowa and Utah State are playing in Kansas City, Missouri for this game. Again, obviously, a closer trip for the Iowa Hawkeyes, but a neutral site one. And we like the Utah State Aggies to win this basketball game. From what I've seen out of Iowa this season, I haven't been that impressed, I'll be honest with you. I watched their game against Washington State, and I get it. They pulled away at the end of it. But they were really close with Wazoo, and I don't think Wazoo's that bad this season. I really don't. Wazoo's 5-1. I think they're going to give some teams problems in the West Coast Conference. I'm looking at teams like Zaga, St. Mary's, hell, Oregon State, who's coming off that game they played last night against Oregon, which they were in control of until they choked it away in the second half. USF, I don't think is very good, but they're involved in the West Coast, obviously, and Santa Clara as well. I mean, I'll be going to a lot of Santa Clara games this season. I don't know how good they're going to be. But regardless, I think Wazoo's a team that's going to give, teams troubles in the West Coast Conference. But anyways, Iowa didn't look great in that game. I know they won it, but I don't know. Iowa hasn't impressed me that much so far this season. They're led by Peyton Sanford. He's averaging 18 points a game out of Waukee, Iowa. I believe that's right. But yeah, he's a fourth-year senior. He's been with Iowa his entire collegiate career. He's been leading the charge so far for them this season. That's fine. Again, you get Sanford, and then you also get Owen Freeman as well, who is a sophomore. Played at Iowa last season as well, but he's averaging 17.5 and 8 so far this season. I like what the Utah State Aggies are doing, though. They're 4-0. Their victories are Alcorn State, Charlotte, Westminster, I don't know, and Montana in their last game. Why am I picking Utah State to win this basketball game, though? They score, and they score in bunches, and I think they have the best scorer on the court as well. That is obviously Ian Hernandez, their senior guard out of Costa Rica. Former Utah player, played there his freshman season, then went to Maryland. Now here he is at Utah State. Again, I think he's the best player on the court. I think he is. I think he's the best player on the court, and I think he should be able to have a day in this one. He's Utah State's most consistent scorer, and again, out of all the players on the court for this game, again, Martinez is the most consistent scorer. You look at the games that he's put up against his last three games, 23, 24, and then his biggest game so far this season against Montana, he puts up 32 points. You're going to get, output out of some of these other guys as well on this Utah State Aggies team, but it is Ian Martinez who is leading the charge, and I think that's fine. Again, I expect Martinez to have a big night against Iowa, and I just don't think Iowa is able to keep up with the scoring attack here from the Utah State Aggies. Both these teams are undefeated. Someone's got to drop the O in this game, and I think it's going to be Iowa. I think Utah State does go in here and win this basketball game in the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. I like Utah State to go out here and pick up the victory again off of the backs of a huge performance out of their guard, Ian Martinez. So again, give me Utah State to win the game. I believe they are underdogs, so hey, that should be plus 1.5, not minus 1.5, excuse me. But you get plus 1.5 on Utah State. You get plus money on the money line. Take whatever you want. Give me Utah State, again, to go into Kansas City and beat the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now we've got two huge games. Baylor versus good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. You've got the number 11 ranked Tennessee Volunteers taking on the number 13th ranked Baylor Bears. And my goodness, what a victory. What a victory for Baylor yesterday. It wasn't looking good, but we cashed it. We cashed it with the Baylor Bears, beating St. John's in Nassau in the Bahamas. Jeremy Roach with the huge three-pointer at the buzzer to win it for the Baylor Bears. I mean, it looked like it was over. They were down by 5 points with 10 seconds to go, and the Baylor Bears find a way to pick up the victory. Great for them. This is where we picked Tennessee, though. I've picked Baylor quite a bit this season, I'll be honest with you. But this is a perfect sell high spot here against Baylor. We're taking Tennessee. I think Tennessee's the better team. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Baylor, again, is coming off of that high of beating St. John's, which, don't get me wrong, great victory for them. I mean, again, huge double overtime victory for Baylor. But here's the thing again, Baylor just played double overtime, and now they got to turn around right away and play an even tougher team, the Tennessee Volunteers. That's not really the recipe for success. Chaz Lanier's been great so far this season for Tennessee. You've got, again, a bunch of guys on this Volunteers team that can score. You got Ziegler as well, who's been a really good guard for this team. He's been distributing the rock, averaging 7.5 assists per game as well. The Volunteers this season, they beat Gardner-Webb, they beat Louisville, they beat Montana, they beat Austin, PA, and they just came off their victory yesterday in the Bahamas against Virginia. I'd expect them to pick up another win here in Nassau against Baylor. Again, I don't mind Baylor at all. Again, if Baylor didn't play double overtime, I would think these lines would be a lot closer, and two, I would consider taking the Baylor Bears. But since they played the double overtime, and I'm not going to hold anything against Baylor because they played St. John so close. That's fine. Again, good win for them. I'm not going to hate it all in the victory for Baylor. That was one of the most entertaining games, if not the most entertaining game so far of this college basketball season. It had to have been. But now you get them against Tennessee. There's a big discrepancy between playing St. John's, Tennessee, and then obviously Gonzaga, who Baylor got blown out by earlier in the season. Again, that goes to show how good the Zags are, right? I think this game will prove it as well. I mean, Gonzaga, again, you look at the dogfight Baylor just had yesterday against St. John's. Well, Gonzaga beat this team by 38 points in the season opener. That's just how good Gonzaga is. I think Tennessee wins this basketball game. Obviously, I don't think they win it by as many points as the Zags did, but I do think they pick up the victory here in Nassau. Give me the Tennessee Volunteers to win this basketball game. They will cover the 4.5 points as well, and obviously, give me them on the money line. We're going with the Tennessee Volunteers to beat the Baylor Bears and cover the 4.5 points. As we go on to our final game of the video, our final best bet, and it is in the form of the Duke Blue Devils. Will Duke rise to the occasion? They are on the road in Tucson, Arizona. You know it's going to be a great environment for this game, but we are going with Duke to win it. We're trusting in probably the best player right now in college basketball. You'd be hard-pressed to say he isn't. Hard-pressed, excuse me, to say that he isn't the best player in college basketball. Obviously, we're talking about Cooper Flagg. Okay? Cooper Flagg's only led Duke in scoring once so far this season. He's only averaging 16 points a game, and obviously, again, not a bad points per game total for Cooper Flagg, but since he is, again, probably the best guy in college basketball right now and likely the number one pick in the NBA draft, you'd expect more than just, again, 16 points per game out of Flagg. Again, his first game against Maine, drops 18. The Army game, 13. The Kentucky game in a loss, Cooper Flagg puts up 26 and 11 boards. And in the win over Warford in their last game, they win the game by 51 points, but he only dropped 8 and 9 in that game. Again, played 28 minutes, but you would have liked to see the scoring be a little bit more, again, out of Cooper Flagg. You're going to get production everywhere. Obviously, Tyrese Proctor is back here at Duke. He's been playing all right this season. Knupel's been playing pretty well as well. Caleb Foster, these guys have been playing well for the Duke Blue Devils this season. Arizona, I get why Arizona's favored because this game is in Tucson, but Arizona's coming off that loss to Wisconsin. I can't trust Arizona to beat Duke. I know they're ranked 9th, but they go to Madison, they lose. I don't really trust them to go out here and beat Duke. I don't know. I mean, Caleb Love had an abysmal game in that one. I mean, Love went 2 for 13 from the field in that game, scored 6 points. And again, this is a guy who's another one of these, should we call it Caleb Love elite? I would say he's one of the better players in college basketball. I don't know if we want to call him elite. Obviously, the former UNC star, Caleb Love, now obviously here with the Wildcats in his second season, but they're going to need way more production out of him. Trey Townsend had a big game against Wisconsin. Jaden Bradley, obviously the best game for the Wildcats, went 7 for 14 shooting and 22 points. I just think Duke's the better team. I think they are. Again, both these teams have played big games so far this season. Obviously, Arizona on the road to Wisconsin. Duke played that game where they lost that neutral site game against Kentucky. Someone's got to rise to the occasion in this game, and I would be hard-pressed to say it's not the Duke Blue Devils. Seriously, they have the better talent, guys. They do. They have the better talent on the court. Tyrese Proctor, Cooper Flagg, they have more talent than, again, what Arizona's got. I get it. Caleb Love, again, has to show up eventually. Jaden Bradley's been really good this season. KJ Lewis has been good. I understand that. Trey Townsend's been really good at the forward position, too, for the Wildcats. I just feel like, again, the bigger stars, and not just the bigger stars, but the better overall talent does lie with the Duke Blue Devils, and that's ultimately why we're taking Duke to win the basketball game. I just think they're the better team. And again, you get even odds for this game. Pretty much, Duke is a slight underdog, and we're going to side with the slight underdog. Why? Again, the only reason Arizona is favored in this basketball game is because it's in Tucson. Again, they're not the same team, obviously, as last year. Omar Ballo's gone. He's now at Indiana. Again, I don't know how big of a difference Ballo makes. Obviously, he was a key component of this Arizona team, but obviously they filled that role kind of well. I mean, obviously, Ballo was a huge prize in the transfer portal to go to Bloomington, but I think Duke's just the better team. The only reason Arizona's favored in this game is because the game's in Tucson. The question I ask you is, does the game being in Tucson really determine if Duke's going to win the basketball game or not? Personally, I don't think so. I think Duke wins this game anywhere that it's played. I think Cooper Flagg really shows out here on the national stage on ESPN. It's a huge game for Duke basketball. They already, again, failed in their first test on national television this season with Cooper Flagg and company against Kentucky. Will they lose in back-to-back spots on the nationally televised stage? Personally, I don't think so. The game's on ESPN too. I think they go to Tucson, Arizona. They cover as 1.5-point dogs, and obviously I think they win the basketball game outright as well. So give me the number 12 ranked Duke Blue Devils to go on the road to number 17 Arizona and straight up win the basketball game. So folks, thank y'all for watching our 5 best bets for college basketball here on November 22nd. If you have not yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more daily best bets here with college basketball. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video, and make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Again, make sure to go join us for our NBA predictions in about a couple hours time, and obviously more daily college basketball best bets as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.